Hola, hola, hola. Vianney Rodriguez here from South Texas, and welcome to my kitchen. I am your resident Tex-Mex queen. This is my cocina. Today we are making, oh my God, we are making my favorite dish ever. Anytime people ask me, what do you want to eat? Frijoles. I am 100% frijolera. I will eat frijoles every single day of my life. So today I want to share with you how to make my abuelitas, my mommies, and my famous frijoles. I know sometimes you're tempted to go to the store and buy a can of beans, but don't do that. Making frijoles at home is so easy and it requires no time, few ingredients, and you get to play with beans. My gosh, I love beans. So today I'm gonna walk you through how to make them from start to finish. It's so easy. And then I'm gonna refry these babies and we're gonna make refried beans. So let's get started. We're gonna start with dried pinto beans. You can find them in the Latin food section area of your grocery store. So if you've never had the pleasure of cleaning beans, I'm gonna walk you through it. Okay, so we've laid our dried pinto beans out on a clean surface, and we're gonna run our fingers through and look for any beans that are broken, little rocks, little twigs, anything that you would find in your beans, because you don't wanna add that to your pot. We want our beans to cook perfectly even. That's what makes me the Tex-Mex queen, because I took the time and effort, guys, to learn how to properly make abuelita's beans. So we're gonna add these to a colander, because we wanna give them a quick rinse, because we want the water to run clear before we add them to the pot. So we've washed away all the murk, all the dust. We don't want anything disrupting our beans in the process, because while your beans are cooking and you've added your ingredients, you're creating a flavorful broth, the bean broth, which is a very important part of this recipe. And that same bean broth is what you use to make your refried beans. So for this recipe, we have our dried pinto beans. We're gonna use onion, we're gonna use garlic, we're gonna use bay leaf. We're gonna add 2 whole bay leaves, and these are dried bay leaves. So these are gonna add a touch of warmth to our broth, and they're gonna flavor our beans. Here's another Tex-Mex tip. Do not eat the bay leaves. Anytime you add bay leaves to your recipe, remember to remove them after the cooking time. So we're adding 2 bay leaves to our pot. We're gonna add 4 cloves of garlic. And these we don't have to smash, we don't have to dice, we're gonna add them in their whole. So some people will add this whole with the skin on there, but since you're cooking the beans low and slow, the paper will release from the garlic and it'll be swimming in the broth, and it's not tasty, so let's not do that. Food is very tied to my memories, so I feel like all the recipes that I share are tied to a memory of either my grandmother or my grandfather and my mother, and beans is one of those recipes that just binds me with love to my grandmother. An onion adds a touch of sweetness, so we're gonna add half an onion, slice it in half, remove that skin, and nestle it in with the beans. We've got everything in our pot, now we're gonna fill it with water. Here's another Tex-Mex tip. When you're cooking your beans low and slow, make sure your beans are consistently submerged in above 2 inches of water at all time, because we do not want our beans to dry out. Okay, so we have our beans on the stove, and what we wanna do is we really wanna shock the beans, so we're gonna bring them to a quick boil. Then we're gonna let them boil for a minute. We're gonna drop the heat to a simmer, we're gonna cover them, and we're gonna let them cook low and slow for 2 hours. Make sure you check on the beans every about 30 minutes, because we need that 2 inches of water above the beans at all time. And I'm gonna put a lid on it. Here's another Tex-Mex tip. I know a lot of you want to salt your beans before they're done cooking. Don't ever do this. If you salt your beans before they're cooked, it makes them hard, which means you have to cook them longer and longer to make them tender. We always salt our beans afterwards. Join me back here in about 2 hours. I'm gonna go back to the couch to watch my novelas. So my novela finished in the nick of time because my frijoles are ready. And remember, we need to remove those bay leaves also. See, they stay intact. We're just extracting their flavor. I'm gonna put them here to the side. We don't wanna overcook our beans to where they split, They'll become mushy because then our broth will get cloudy, and that's what we want to avoid. So our last step to completing these beans is seasoning with salt. And we're gonna salt generously because remember, we're salting our beans and our broth. I'm gonna give it a quick mix. Let that salt soak in the broth, and then I wanna taste it because we wanna have our broth seasoned perfectly. Be careful porque está caliente. Perfect. Perfectly salted. The broth is full of flavor. It's picked up the notes from the bay leaf. You've got that onion, hints of garlic, and now we're ready to serve. So I'm gonna get a big bowl because we want plenty of that bean broth. This is my favorite part. Serving and eating the beans. Place them right here. I'm gonna just garnish it with a little bit of cilantro because I want a little bit of freshness. And there you have the gift of love, a big steaming bowl of frijoles. So I have a fresh pot of frijoles, and today I want to share with you how easy it is to turn a fresh pot of beans into one of the most delicious Tex-Mex side dishes ever invented. Oh my gosh, walk into any Tex-Mex restaurant and you will find refried beans served with every dish that hits the table. Restaurants are actually rated on their refried beans, guys. It's that serious. So what you're gonna need is a pot of frijoles. You're gonna need a few slices of bacon, and that's it. That's all you need to have refried beans at home. So, to a skillet, I have this skillet over medium-high heat. We're gonna add our bacon. What we're gonna do is we're gonna render the fat from the bacon. So we're gonna take them from one state, we're gonna fry them in a delicious fat, which is bacon, and we're gonna mash them. So here we go. To our skillet, we are adding our bacon. We have 4 slices of bacon. I can't tell you how many plates of refried beans I have eaten in my life. And people think they can't recreate these recipes at home. You can. You just need to find a few little tips and tricks. So we're gonna let these hang for a minute. And this is just regular bacon. You don't have to go out and you don't have to buy a thick cut bacon because that would have less fat in it. Here's a great Tex-Mex tip. If you're gonna fry up bacon on the weekend, fry it up, save the bacon fat renders, put them in a little jar next to your stove, oven safe, little jar next to your stove, and use them in your dishes. You can use them to make refried beans, you can use them to flavor ground beef, you can use them to fry your fajitas. That would be delicious. So if you don't know, bacon fat is literally manteca. When you go into a Mexican market y te venden las cajas de manteca, it's bacon fat. And Mexican kitchens and Tex-Mex kitchens use a lot of manteca, especially during tamale season. But I mean, it just adds that great flavor. So here we go. You can see my pan is smoking, screaming hot, and that's exactly what we want. This is gonna happen quickly. So I'm gonna get my beans with some broth, and you're gonna hear it right away fry once it hits that pan, and that's exactly what you want. You'll hear that sizzle, and that's the beans soaking up all that bacon fat. I'm gonna grab a bean smasher, and I'm gonna start quickly. You're gonna notice that the beans are gonna break up fairly quickly. They're gonna start to get thick, and they're gonna soak up in all that bacon fat. But you can tell how quickly it got thick, and the only thing we've added to the pan is the renderings from 4 slices of bacon, our bean broth, and our beans. So there you have it. Look how quickly that came together. The beans were nice and tender when we pulled them from the pot, so it's a quick few seconds with my masher, and we are good to go. And there you have it, guys. Refried beans made at home. Super simple, super easy. 3 ingredients. We have bacon, we have our beans, our broth, and a lot of amor. So it can't get any better than this, guys. I'm gonna show you, since we have homemade refried beans, I'm gonna show you one of my favorite tacos, and it comes together so quickly. The iconic cheddar cheese from Tex-Mex cooking. I have my comal, it's screaming hot. I'm gonna add my flour tortillas. This is a super iconic Tex-Mex breakfast taco. This is the taco that you start your toddlers on to venture into the breakfast taco world. All my daughters, my nieces, my nephews, When they were little, all they ever wanted for breakfast was a bean and cheese taco. Okay, we're gonna flip our tortilla. Le voy a poner our Mexican glue, shredded cheese, with the other Mexican glue, our refried beans. And there you have it. Super delicious bean and cheese taco. And you know what, guys? You made it with your own homemade refried beans. How easy was that? So we took you from frijoles, we transformed them into refried beans, and then now look, we're taking you straight into a breakfast taco. And there you have it. Thank you guys for joining me. Be sure to like and subscribe for more Tex-Mex goodness coming your way. So good.